Hey guys, so today we'll be recapping MBRX. Another short I had here, about 7,400 after commissions, I think. Um, this one I kind of messed up. I wasn't super pleased with how I did on it, so I'll just kind of talk you through the trade and through my thought process on it. First of all, it had that huge run back in the end of June and then faded off down into the low ones. And then recently, I mean, I guess they had the PR in the middle of July that gapped it up here, but it was pretty weak for a while. And it held decently in the high ones and then has been ramping back, really just kind of a newsless ramp up over the past week, week and a half. And I think that it's on speculation that news may be coming. I'm not really sure. Like they might be filing something with the FDA or something because they had said, I guess, previously that by the end of July they expected to. I don't really know. I didn't look too deeply into it. Generally, when I don't know why something is running and there's no obvious news, I just check stock twits, which you can usually find some pretty interesting bullish theories on there that make you very sad for the people. But uh, I think that's what it is. That's what everyone was talking about. So anyway, MBRX had these multiple days of run, really never going red. I guess it briefly did this one day here on the 28th. And then it started to speed up to the upside, really in a couple days, went up from 250 to a high of 340. And let's just zoom back here, look at where I entered the trade. It had this big morning parabolic up to 340. And yeah, at that point, the 340 area was getting in the neighborhood of some daily resistance from the last time it ran. But I wasn't feeling super aggressive on this. I wanted to sort of sit back, wait, confirm the backside. So I wasn't going after it randomly into this spike when it was still strong and still above VWAP. And then it had this nice hard crack from 340 down to 3. And at that point, I think the previous close was 299. So it was like a penny or two below the previous closing price. So, I mean, that was a hard slam back, gave back pretty much its entire day's gains. And I was looking for a bigger rebound than this to get some decent sized short, looking to risk off a high a day. But what wound up happening was it didn't bounce all that strong. So I put on a small starter position at 310, 10,000 shares. And then it had this crack here around 1 o'clock, and I shorted another 5 or 10,000 into the weakness right around 3, thinking that maybe it would just break down right here. And it didn't, so I wound up with 20,000 shares, 305 average, which I was fairly happy with. I didn't really feel the need to get too much more aggressive on it, down in the low threes, just in case it did have an afternoon VWAP test or ramp up and try to break through. So I just sat back and let it go green red, and it cracked, and I didn't really chase the weakness. And the only ad I got was into this bounce right here, near the end of the day. It had cracked down into the 270s and then bounced up into the 290s. I put on 5,000 more shares at 291. So I wound up with something like a 301 average overall on it. So all in all on the entries, fairly happy. You know, I did a good job, for the most part. And I had some okay size behind the trade, 25,000 shares, 301 average, not too bad. Now, I'm a little frustrated because I didn't stick around to the end of the day. I just kind of thought, okay, I'll swing this, and completely missed out on this big tank end of day down into the 240s and bounce. I'm not sure I would have covered there anyway, but still, that would have been pretty tempting. And I took the swing into today looking for more fade. And after a little bit of a morning perk up back to the 290s where I sure could have added, but I didn't. It cracked, went green red again, faded back off, and did this double bottom down here at 245. And at the time, it was just kind of a question of which plan I wanted to follow. I mean, patience is a double-edged sword because sometimes it works out great and it keeps on fading like you want. And other times it will ramp back on you and you'll have been over patient and you'll watch some nice unrealized gains disappear. So in this case, you know, keeping in mind the big picture, I was really hoping that that double bottom would crack later in the day and we'd get a fade off into the low twos at least, maybe even further. That's not exactly what happened. Instead, it caught this double bottom, had a really strong bounce, and then I probably, you know, this was a little bit of a red flag to me, this really strong bounce here. So I could have definitely made a case for covering up some into this next fade here. But instead, I just sat back. I stayed patient. I just kept on kind of hoping that the plan would continue going my way. It didn't. This is a time where patience did not work out quite as I had hoped. And I wound up taking it all off right up here in the red-green area just to protect myself in case it came squeezing back. And this is kind of the other side that I struggle with a little bit here. You know, I don't really mind taking off there, but I need to figure out a little bit better here, whether that's the right move to make or not. It's a very awkward spot for me where, you know, you get that first red day and then second or third red day when that stock tests green or goes green for a little bit. I mean, a lot of times there are fake out moves there. But then there are the cases where it does come all the way back and really surprise you. And those don't happen too often, but when they do happen, they really, really suck. So I don't know if tracking these a little better would be beneficial to me or what exactly I should do. I need to just figure out, though, or maybe just be a little more at peace with my goals of patience and give this thing a little more time. Because even though it's going red-green, I mean, it still has a long way to go until trend is really back on its side and it's a threat to break past 340 and continue. So, I mean, big opportunity here. I mean, 340 down to 245. I mean, that's $1 a share on a $3 stock of max potential. I captured really about 30 cents a share of it, which, you know, that's, I guess, a third of the move. Not too bad, but there's a lot of room for me to do better here. So I just kind of need to figure out this back end of the trade when I'm getting out and it's kind of having, you know, those scary perks where the stock might be going green or something bullish might be about to happen. I just need to figure out, I think, how often does the stock make that big comeback and really upset you versus just be a little fake perk up and then a couple more days of patience and you get your goal of the low twos, let's say. So something for me to think about, something for me to work on. You know, I don't know if there's any underlying lesson here, but just figure these trade recaps are useful to kind of hear my thinking and my thought process on these trades. And hopefully, maybe you can even see something I'm doing and improve upon it and do better.